Good day, I'm Miss Christine R. Bustas. My subject is oral communication. Our lesson for today is all about nature of communication, the definition, process, and the model of communication. But before we start to our lesson, we have two objectives. The first is define communication, and the last is explain the nature and process of communication. So what is communication? So communication is sharing information between speaker and listener. It is done with the help of the signs, symbols, and gestures. Communication came from two Latin words which are communis and communicare. If we say communis, it means to share, while communicare, it means common. Communication also have two types, which are verbal and non-verbal communication. If we say verbal communication, it is the use of language to transfer information through speaking. The example for verbal communication is face-to-face conversation, because it is also an oral medium of transmitting a message. While the non-verbal communication, it is the use of language, gestures, and facial expression to convey information to others. The best example for this is facial expression, emotion, and gestures. So for example, you might smile unintentionally when you hear a pleasing or enjoyable idea or piece of information. That is the example of nonverbal. Another example is you can use gesture, facial expression if your listener is mute or deaf person, so they can understand what the message is all about. So let's proceed to communication process. It is a process of exchanging verbal and non-verbal messages. It is also a continuous process. So there are 5 components of process of communication: sender, message, channel, receiver, and feedback. So the first component is sender. So the source and the one who start the communication. So I will give an example of 5 components of process of communication through a scenario. So Miss Anna discussed her lesson to her students. So look at the slide. So Miss Anna is our sender. So that is the example of sender. How about the second component? Message. It is the idea, information that is generated by the sender and is intended to communicate further. So again, look at the example in the slide. So the sender is Miss Anna. Now the message is her lesson. Let's proceed to third component, the channel. If we say channel, it is the manner in which the encoded message is transmitted. Again, look at the example. So our sender is Miss Anna. Our message is lesson. What is our channel? So because Miss Anna is a teacher, she used oral medium of transmitting a message. So she used her mouth. Why? Because she used oral medium of transmitting a message. So, but you can also use cell phone, TV, radio to a channel. It depends on the example that you use. So now let's go to receiver, the person who received the message. So look at again our example. So receiver is the student. Why? Because Miss Anna discussed her lesson to her student. So the student is the receiver of the message, which is the lesson. Okay, how about the feedback? It is the response of the receiver. Again, our receiver is the student. the feedback of the student if they understand the lesson of Miss Anna. That is their feedback. Again, look at the example. Miss Anna is the sender. Message is her lesson or the lesson. Channel is her mouth because Miss Anna is a teacher. She used oral medium of transmitting a message. And then the receiver is the student, and the feedback is if the student understand the lesson of Miss Anna. So let's proceed to our last topic, which is model of communication. So it refers to conceptual model used to explain the human communication process. So there are three communication models, which are Aristotle communication model, Harold Laswell communication model, and Shannon and Weaver communication model. So the first model is Aristotle communication model. So this model represents communication as an orator to a large audience. So look at the figure. So you can see there are four components: the speaker, speech, audience, and effect. But look at the speech and effect. At their center, there is occasion. So here is the example. So Alexander gave brave speech to his soldier in the war field to defeat Persian Empire. So the sender is Alexandra. His speech is brave speech. Occasion is war, and her audience is soldiers. The effect is to defeat Persian Empire. Look at again the figure. Next model is Harold Laswell communication model. The use of medium is very crucial in this model. For example, you can use radio, television, and other gadgets. So remember, in the process of communication, our example is Miss Anna is discuss her lesson to her student. Miss Anna use channel, which is the oral medium of transmitting a message. But now we will use gadget for our channel. So look at the Laswell communication model figure. So who, communicator, says what, message, in which channel, medium, to whom, receiver, with what effect and effect. There is also 5 components. So look at the example. You and your friends will go to school, but your friend is late. So the speaker is you. Message, text messages from you, because our channel is cell phone. To whom is to your friend, and the effect is the reply of your friend text message. So it is like a process of communication. So last model is Shannon and Weaver communication model. So this model is focused on information theory, the transmission and reception of the message. Transmitter and receiver used by the sender and receiver during the act of communication, Shannon and Weaver communication model. So this model also called mathematical model. So why it is mathematical model? Because Shannon is American mathematician while Weaver is American scientist. They are the mother of all models. So what is the difference between the two models, which is the Aristotle and Laswell model, to Shannon and Weaver model? So look at the figure. So there are 6 components. First is information source, transmitter or encoder, channel, receiver, destination. And look at the channel. At the bottom there is source. So I will give an example to Shannon and Weber mathematical model figure. So you will send your assignment through email to your teacher. The information source, look at the figure. The information source is you. Transmitter is message assignment. Signal is Wi-Fi connection. Channel is laptop or computer because we will use gadget for this example. And then the receiver is teacher. And the destination is email. And our noise is internet interruption signal. So that is an example of the figure of Shannon and Weber communication model. So I will discuss also the different kind of barrier or noise. So static sources, unusual weather conditions, electronic equipment that interferes with the signal, and the last is environmental phenomena. So we use the electronic equipment that is interferes with the signal. So we use it to our example earlier. So now let's proceed to your activity. So you can use Word documents to answer your activity, and then you can send it to my messenger. So activity number 1, direction is write the word true if the statement is correct and false if the statement is not. So it is 1 to 5. So you will answer it to the Word document. So I hope you understand our lesson for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye, and God bless and stay safe.